What's up, guys? How's it going? Maverick here, ready for episode 11 of Steinsgate 0. Last episode was a little bit on the slower side, right? Definitely had, was concentrated a lot more on the fan service, I guess you could say. Although, at the very end, we did kind of start to get into the confrontation between Okabe and Maho, more specifically, in regards to Kurisu's laptop, which potentially holds the secrets or keys to time travel, right? And I do believe that this is going to escalate into a full-blown confrontation in the future, and in fact, Maho might be the key to convincing Okabe to give time travel another shot and see if he can bring Kurisu back, right? Because I'm sure that in Maho's position, she probably wants to do everything she can in order to get her beloved Kohai back to this world. So, in any case, let's get into this episode right now. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Gotcha. Cosplay shop or something. How did you get this kind of underground contact? Are we gonna get a new character? What if it turns out to be Daru in the end? Come on, you guys gotta get me that now. Oh man. Well, okay, I guess it was kind of hinted at previously already. Hmm. Ah. Of course. They're gonna be using the same characters. Otherwise, there'll be more loose ends, right? Alright, let me skip this real quick. Pandora of Forgotten Existence. You're a smart man. Yeah, but the Russians already have a working one. Okay. Just gonna want to bring Kurisu back. Oh, is he gonna tell her? Don't try to change the future. No, change the past. And hey, yeah, it's been some time since we checked in on these. That commercial? Is that a clue or something? Hmm. And who the hell are you guys? Yeah, that's a lot to take in. And yet, again, there's already a functioning time machine here, right? So, I'm pretty sure in the near future the decision is going to be out of your hands. Never change, Dara. Ah. Hmm. Huh. Dara even has an escape protocol. Nice. I can see where Suzuha got some of her traits from. I'm pretty sure they just want the lab. But how are they able to track them though? Hmm. He's bluffing now. Hmm. And yet another? Oh, a third force. Wow. What? These will... Those might be the Russians, right? Well, I'd imagine it's the Americans versus the Russians? Oh, she's hurt as well. Scared. Oh. I mean... I know this is probably heartless of me to comment right now, but weren't you guys already deciding to destroy it? Stratfor is a think tank! Oh. I still feel like... uh... of course. Aww. Some nice heart-to-heart time. Hmm. Mhm. You know the answer, Maho. You know the answer. This is like I don't know, I feel like this is kind of like doubly ironic. She's always considered Kurisu her rival, and even now, even though she probably kinda sorta has feelings for Okabe now, Kurisu was still there first. Japanese young Einstein. That is like changing the future should also count as changing world lines, shouldn't it? Damn. You are one perceptive AI. Holy crap. How exactly are they? Huh. Really? She was one of the attackers, wasn't she? Okay, where's the twist? Where's the twist? I'm waiting for it. Maybe after the ending? Well, let me check real quick, guys. I mean, if not, I'll just see you guys in the discussion session. And alright, that really was the ending, right? I was quite surprised that they didn't even leave like a hint or clue or some foreshadowing to what's going to happen in the second cour, because I guess this is the sort of halfway point for Steins Gate 0, episode 11, out of, I believe, 23 episodes. So that's why they sort of ended it like here. But I mean, if you didn't know that this was a 2-cour season, you could easily think like this is like the ending, right? And it would make sense as well, though I'm guessing that it would leave a lot of people very confused and very angry, right? So, well, at least they're changing it up, right? This is definitely something that they didn't do in the original series, so I guess at least props to them for wanting to try out something different, maybe, for better or worse, I guess. So, into the episode at hand, there are a few things I want to talk about. But first, let's talk about Maho, right? Because, I already mentioned this a little bit in the episode, but I do find it really ironic and intriguing at the same time that she's sort of, always, her entire story, like her entire conflict that she has right now is that she's walking, she feels like she's always in the shadow of Kurisu, right? Whether in her, academically or so on and so forth. And even now, with Kurisu out of picture, she's still walking in Kurisu's footsteps by, having feelings for the same guy, right? By having feelings for Okabe, right? So I just feel like this entire thing is, I don't know, poor Maho, right? And if you think about it, right, if there ever was a sort of alternate ending where Okabe did not end up with Kurisu, right? Maho would be a perfect fit as well, right? She definitely has a lot of characteristics that Kurisu has as well, and they're both intellectual types. They both like to do a lot of retorts and whatnot, and they're both tsunderes to a certain degree, I guess you could say. I could. I asked last episode whether or not there was actually a Maho route, and I believe one of you guys, Muhajaha, I believe that's how you pronounce your name, mentioned that yes, there is a Maho route, and honestly, I'm very, very intrigued, right? Perhaps even more so than a Mayuri route, because as much as I love Mayuri, I don't know. I just, in my mind, it's not. They're not like couple type, right? Now, don't flame me for this. I'm not gonna get into any waifu flame wars or whatnot, but I'm just saying that I'm very compelled to see what would happen if Okabe ended up with Maho instead, right? I think that's what I want to say. And speaking of Mayuri, actually, don't you guys feel like it's been quite a while since we've heard a do from her, right? Like, it has to be like at least 6 episodes and counting or something like that. I thought they were going to do it when Okabe returned to this timeline, back from the Alpha timeline, right? But apparently not, and I feel like that was kind of a missed opportunity to see the iconic Totoro back and to let us, the audience, have a semblance of, hey, this is back to normality, right? It's the Mayuri we love. Okay, but that's kind of on a tangent, right? So, I don't know, maybe I'll look up Maho's storyline. I'm still undecided on whether I want to play the visual novel or not. I might just look up the actual, ending in place. We'll see, right? So, beyond all that part, let's get into the key conflict at hand, right? And that is, the I guess Americans and Russians and whatnot, and this entire business with the laptop and so on and so forth, right? Now, the thing I want to say here is I really don't quite understand Okabe's position here, because it doesn't really make much sense to me. And what I mean by this is that, okay, so he's trying to still, in a sort of way, avert World War III, right? He wants to try to do it without utilizing the time machine. But I already talked about this last episode. He's already under the influence of a time machine. Suzuha coming back here is already a temporal influence on him, if you will. And indeed, changing the future, well, what's the difference between that and changing the past, right? Because your future is your future self's past, right? So we know right now, based on this world line, that in the year 2036, Mayuru is still alive, whereas Okabe is dead, right? By changing the future, he could potentially make it so Mayuri dies tomorrow, right? I'm just saying it as it is. He could simply change the fate of Mayuri just like that. And so what is he supposed to do then, right? If you really say, okay, you don't want to tempt fate at all, then you shouldn't even be trying to change your future, right? That doesn't make sense. In changing the future, you also change the destinies and the fates of the people around you, right? So I already don't buy in with this sort of logic of, I don't want to use a time machine to travel to the past, but still I want to somehow avert World War III. Like, it just doesn't work that way, if you will. And secondly, the thing is, I feel like the rules of the game have changed. Once it is known that a third entity has developed a time machine, and indeed they are already capable of changing timelines, which Okabe himself has already experienced, right? Once you know this has happened, then you need to, if you truly want to avoid these adverse consequences of changing the past and whatnot, you gotta be more proactive about this. You gotta be active and actually find who are the ones who are making this time machine and stop them, or try to change the world line to one where they don't have time machines, right? Or whatever they're using to change timelines. Because think about it like this: are you going to, like, what happens if it changes a little further down the road and then it jumps back to the Alpha timeline again, right? Like, what is he gonna do about it then? Is he going to still try to ask Kurisu to change it back to the Beta timeline, right? And what happens if, God forbid, he actually jumps to a timeline where both Mayuri and Kurisu are dead, right? Like, what's he supposed to do then? That is checkmate, right? So, I don't know. If you think about it, if you really think this through, he should be, like, in a panic right now, trying to figure out who are the ones who actually have the time machine, right? It's not like destroying Kurisu's laptop is going to change anything. He literally jumped back to a time where, so I don't know, it's like, maybe you could argue that maybe by going to the Alpha timeline and then coming back again through Kurisu's D-mail, they managed to come back to this timeline to one where the Russians have not developed a time machine as well. But how do you know that, right? It's not guaranteed. And indeed, since it's only changing the how should I call it? It's only changing your circumstances, right? It's only changing your memories, your past, but you're still at the same time as you were before you left the Alpha timeline. it could still possibly be that the Russians still have an active and working time machine, right? So, like, I don't know, man. It's just, I feel like thinking about it rationally, he should be much more in panic mode right now, and he should be doing everything he can in order to try and find out who actually has the time machine and if there's anything he can do to stop that or reverse it. And indeed, this actually ties in with another big, I think, flaw about this entire, don't change the past because you'll tempt fate or whatnot. And indeed, I think a flaw of the Steinsgate model as a whole, the time travel theory that Steinsgate used as a whole. And that is, you are never going to be able to stop all the possibilities of the past changing, right? Because the future is infinite, right? Or at least as close to infinite, like all the way up to the heat death of the universe. And there's bound to be someone down the line who also discovers time travel of some sort, right? Or it's not like Okabe is some literal god or something that only he has this capability of doing this, right? How do you know that even if he destroys all the evidence of time machines and whatnot, how can he be certain that sometime down the road someone else is going to invent a time machine? And so what happens if that guy actually goes back and then changes the past, right? What can you do to stop him there? Because the future is infinite as well. And so I feel like that is a big flaw of using this type of model where there's only actually one universe, but people's memories change to accommodate this, versus the more generally used multiverse theory, where there's multiple universes existing at the same time, and when you go back to the past or whatnot, you're just going to one specific universe, but you're not touching all the other timelines as well. They all exist in their separate reality, and they're free to go on as they see fit, right? So I'm not going to go too deep into this discussion here. That's not the point of this episode, right? But I'm just saying that, thinking about it a little bit more, you kind of get more and more into this feeling that there's really nothing you can do to stop people from affecting the past in some way, shape, or form. There's simply no way to guarantee this, right? So, but anyways, like I said, back to the actual episode at hand. So, speaking of the Russians and the Americans, right? At the very end there, we're also given 2 hints to their, their true identities and whatnot, and perhaps also a hint of Kaguri in regards to Kaguri as well, right? So originally, we were led on this big wild goose chase, I guess you could say, where Yuki had the exact same wounds as the attackers, right? She was cut or harmed or bandaged up in the exact same places. However, and even in this episode as well, she hurt her right hand, which is exactly where the attackers hurt their hand during the scene with the shootout, right? But however, if we look at Professor Judy, when she was on the plane, she was also sort of hiding her right hand there, right? So I feel like this is one of the red herring cases that you guys have told me, and it's trying to throw us off, like who exactly is the one who was trying to harm them, trying to get into Karisu's laptop. Is it actually Yuki? Is it actually Judy? My money would actually be on Judy at this point, and perhaps Yuki was just, it was just a false alarm, trying to throw us off the track all along, and it's just by pure coincidence she has the exact same wounds on her hand. But hard to say, right? But at least there now exists an alternative possibility, which would actually make a lot more sense than Yuki being the one who's doing all this stuff, right? So yeah, and that's that. And then the second, I guess maybe clue is in the part with Kaguri, and where she was fixated on this commercial that was on television, right? So I think I went back and rewatched that part, and it's obvious that she's not that interested in the commercial. Well, I guess you can say it's really obvious, but I mean, looking at it, it seems that she's not actually interested in the commercial itself, but perhaps more so by the music that's in the commercial, which I'll be honest, it took me quite a while to figure out what that actually was. I thought it sounded Mozart, but I wasn't quite sure which exactly it was, and I spent like way too much time trying to figure out like what exact Mozart piece that was, because there are a lot. And then suddenly it dawned on me that it's literally Koshel number 6205. You know, the same one where they were talking about a few episodes past. You know, Koshel number 620 being the magic flute, and then the 5 there being sort of like the 5th piece of music within the magic flute, right? And that is literally what that background music of the commercial was. It was the magic flute. It was the 5th piece of it. I believe it's a quintet, and the piece of the name of the piece is literally actually, sorry, 4 hymns. Right? So that was, you know, I'm quite baffled that they chose such an obscure reference here. Like, they didn't even use the overture of the magic flute. So that took me quite a while. And what they did there was they basically removed the vocal part and only used the instrumentation portion of it. So is that actually a reference to something that we need to look up? I don't know. Perhaps I'm gonna have to look up a bit more into Freemasonry or something, or Masonic works, something like that. Maybe I was wrong a few episodes past, and this actually, Koshel number 6205, actually is sort of referring to this. Maybe, or it could be a wild goose chase again, right? So, hard to say. But in any case, those are the things that I noticed here, so on and so forth, and yeah. I guess we'll just have to get into the second quarter of the season and see what's going to happen, right? Well, we already know in the end what's going to happen, but I would venture a guess and say they should probably do something about the people who have time travel technology. Just saying. Alright, so that was my review of Steins Gate 0, episode 11. I'll see you guys next time. Ta-da! Bye-bye.